In this lesson, you will learn if your team is working on the right priority. Let's go into the backlog module. Here, make sure you have selected the right release you want to work on. And now you can set a specific context. So either you can go for the whole backlog, which is planned for this release, or you can select based on the epic and or features, which you can select on the left hand side in the tree tool. To be more focused, as you can see, I'm currently on the AU client information system, and now I would like to understand the planning. So what I want is there should be no urgent or very high item which is not planned to a team. And also, if items are planned to a team, they should also be assigned to a sprint. I want to make sure that the urgent and priority items are planned on my timeline. Here you can make use of the group by button. This is a very nice feature which is really making things easier for your planning, but also for your implementation. And the first thing you want to know now is what are your teams. Yeah? So let's group them by team. And you can see Octane has provided the group filter, and your view is now sorted or grouped by the different teams. You can also see if there are items which are not assigned to any team. Yeah? So let's first go for the items which are assigned to a team. Okay, here I can see all the different user stories and defects. And I also see that the API teams has assigned in total 22 items, which are summarized in 72 story points. Total invested hours 86, and still remaining work is also summarized. And this is a great statistic for me to really see what is going on currently in the sprint. If one team is maybe overloaded, like I can see that the API team has a lot of remaining work. They have already invested a lot of hours, while as the infra team is not overloaded. They have a lot of story points to work on, but when it comes to the implementation, they still have some work to do, and the UI team is really not overloaded at all. So they are not investing much time in implementation, and also the remaining work is not that high as the API team. So this is one indication to understand which team has a lot of work to cover, and which team is still not, or which team has still availability to cover for a sprint or release. So now let's see if all those teams are working on items which are having the right priority. So as a next grouping item, I could select here now the priority. So all the items below the teams are now summarized by their priority. So you can see here I have a couple of items which are summarized by urgent, high, medium, and very high. And there are also some items which are not prioritized at all. So those, okay, I can for now ignore. But let's see if items like urgent are also planned. So they are, I can see they are working on this urgent item, but I want to see also if those items are also planned for a sprint or not. So let me add an additional field here, which is then the sprint. And now the grouping is updated, and I can see if the API team is working on items, on urgent items, which are planned for this release. So here is something which allows me to really see also the high priority items are planned for sprint 2, 3, and 5. And the very high items should also be planned. Yeah, so this is fine. Let's go to the next team. And here you can see I have the infra team. The infra team has also, the planning is fine. I can see very high items are planned, as well as urgent item, and high is also planned. The last one is a UI team, and here I can look also here into the urgent item, and I see that here the UI team has 3 urgent items, assigned, but those are not planned into a sprint. I can see that one defect is closed, but those three, they have started to work, but not really sure when it is going to be delivered. So what I can do now is I can say, okay, I want to plan them for sprint 5, drag and drop it to the UI team capacity, and those will be assigned. And if I refresh, the filter is updated, and you can now see that those 2 items which are urgent are now also planned for the sprint 5. And same I can use now to see, okay, if there are items which are urgent and not assigned to any team, but planned for a sprint. So this is also something I can now say, okay, this is user stories, somebody is working on it, but it's not really dedicated to a team. So I could plan it directly to a specific team in order to cover it. So now those are also planned to the teams. And I have cleaned up my backlog from the implementation and planning perspective. So the group by feature is a great feature to understand where you currently stand. You can make use of any attribute which is provided in the group by list to summarize your backlog items accordingly. And what Octane will do is on the backlog items, it will summarize the items which you have, as well as the total story point on implementation level, and break it down even further. Like here we can see from 22 items, I can see in the high 10 items are grouped by high, and those are in summary 31 story points. So it's really break down the whole items into the groups you have sorted to. And you also see in which sprint those 10 items are implemented. Great way to identify how your teams are working and if they are focusing on the right priority.